What's up, everybody? I'm Blessed and Free. Welcome back to another episode of DOC TV. So, if you are tuning in for the first time on this channel, I talk about crime, jail, prison, and the corruption that goes on in all of those. If you're new, hit that subscribe button and turn your post notifications on all. So, today we got a guest on. Hey, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people watching at home? What's your name and where you're from?
My name's Chris Martin. I'm from Arizona. I grew up in Kansas. Came out here to play college baseball and got busted with a joint and did 3 years in prison for it.
Crazy, man.
Welcome to town.
So a joint, well, like when you got busted with the joint, how did you end up getting 3 years for that though? Because that's a misdemeanor, right?
Not in 1995. It was a felony because I was in a drug-free school zone. And the judge felt that because I came from placements or group homes as a boy, that I was obviously getting into some kind of trouble. So it was better that I do 3 years in prison than finish my scholarship.
Did they up the charge because it was a school zone that you got busted in?
They did. It was on Indian reservation land at Yavapai College, so it definitely upped the charges.
You said you were in group homes and stuff growing up. So what was going on in your life then that you ended up in group homes?
You know, just family life. My dad was a biker, a patch member of a club for 34 years. My mom was, a hippie, traveled the country carrying a backpack with me in it half the time. Just their love of dope and liquor and everything in between was a lot more than family. So at 9, I started running away because the abuse just got so bad. I got tired of getting hit. I had 4 little brothers and sisters that I was trying to figure out, how do I get them out of there? But I can't stay here. I can't do this anymore. So I started going through foster care and group homes when I was about 9.
What effect would you say that had on you as a young kid going through that?
Man, I got to tell you, it was wild. As a kid, you don't think much of it because it's the new normal for you. But as you get older and you start meeting other people and have girlfriends and they have families that are normal, and I'd say it had a huge effect. It made prison make a lot more sense, as I got older and once I was adult and got in trouble. It made prison easier because I already understood the hierarchy and how it went down. But it wasn't any more fun. I mean, it didn't make it to where I like being there anymore.
Right.
It just, I guess I was a little rough around the edges, so it made that transition super simple.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was my next question. So you're obviously got to do 3 years, as a young adult. What was like going through your head, man, when you were getting ready to go to be shipped off to prison?
It was wild. I tell everyone that I had the luxury of going to prison in 2 different decades. Because back in the 90s, it was a little bit more about reform and rehabilitate. We had keys to our own cell when I made it to minimum yard. We had classes, we had jobs, you could send money home, you could get Christmas packages. I mean, it was a little bit different. When I went into prison on these last charges in 2015, it's just warehousing. Even the medium yards were huge warehouses, 500 guys fighting over 4 toilets, no classes, no programs, more dope on the yard than I've ever seen in my life. And it's cheaper than ever. It was just totally, completely bureaucratic. You could see where the business transition took place between, the early 90s and the late, 2015 or whatever. So.
Yeah, and it's definitely a money business now. They don't care about, what you said, rehabilitating anybody. And it's almost like the system they have set up now is so money hungry that when you go to prison now, like you are almost going to definitely come out a worse person than when you went in just because of all the shit that you're subjected to in there. When you went, man, when you were younger, when you got out, how did all that go down for you? Did you integrate easily back into society, or did it have an effect on you?
It had a huge effect on me. I lost a marriage, a wife someone I was married to infidelity. I had a daughter with that person, which caused us, miserable visitation situations, having prison thrown back in my face from there on. I mean, the implications were huge, especially at that young of an age. But on the other hand, thank God I was that young. I was resilient. I'd already been through placements in group homes and foster homes. I'd already been homeless and slept on the streets before. So it was kind of an easy transition in one aspect because I'd already been there. But being young and scary. You don't have family or anyone backing you up doing it. It was harder the first time, I think, because of the politics. When you go down as a youngster, you have a whole different role than you do 20 years later with a real old DOC number. It just seems the bureaucratic side is a lot different as a kid going in because you don't have a lot of options. When I
Right.
hit the yard, I hit a medium yard. I was a young, big kid, ball headed, straight out of college. And man, that drew in some warriors, that sure thought that they were gonna get me recruited that first day. And that's scary crap going in there as a 20-year-old youngster, and you just came off of a baseball field and all of a sudden you're in the dungeon, I mean, like
Yeah.
gladiator school. Like, wait a minute, where did I go?
So how did all that go down, man? You hit the compound, you go out to yard rec. So who approached you and like how did that go down and how did that situation play a part in the rest of your sentence?
When I first went down in this time, or the first time, I was young and I had never had a number. So we went through the walls, we went through Florence. Um, Very intimidating for kids, for men. Hell, grown men go through there and they're in tears. Um, but when I hit the yard, I hit Mojave, I hit Douglas, which is down along the border. And it's a pretty political yard. It was a pretty live yard back in those days. And I didn't even know what that meant. After sitting in county for a year, I was just ready for a cigarette and a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
And I didn't even smoke, you know what I mean? Like, just let me on the yard. I get there. I was approached right away by some of the white boys down there, the ABers. And I think it was because of the way I looked more so than who I was. Nobody, I mean, I'm a college kid. I don't know anything about politics other than what I learned in group homes. And group homes are a lot different as boys. As boys, it's all of you against the man, which I feel like if prisons took on some of that aspect, they'd be a lot more effective. They'd get a lot more work done that way. But being what they are, you jump into rules real quick. And I mean, literally, I just got touched up a couple times. They ran in, threw a couple hands with me, saw I was going to throw them back. And next thing I know, we got your back. And I'm not about that life, though, man. I had a short 3-year sentence and wasn't really trying to get all politically charged. I come from a whole different background. I grew up in Kansas City and Topeka, outside those areas where my high schools were all black. You know what I mean? Like, I was one of the only white kids on my football and baseball team. And now I'm in a very segregated
Yeah.
situation in Arizona. And I'm a big looking white boy. You know what I mean? So it was a scary situation where I had to walk a fine line. I didn't join any gangs. I didn't jump in, but I didn't fall out of line either. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I broke any rules that I would get in trouble for. Other than I got in a fight with one of our own playing cards, and they tried to put me on suspension, and that turned into a situation where I ended up running the dude off the yard with my guys. So I mean, the politics, the shit that you get into fights over and you battle over in there, you don't even think about out here. It's bureaucracy that you've never, I can't even explain unless you've walked it. What you get, you've been there, you understand
Oh
completely.
yeah, completely. And especially going in and being a bigger white dude. And then once they see that you're gonna throw hands, like you said, and you have heart, they're immediately gonna attach onto you and want you to ride with them. And I kind of
Yeah,
get what you meant by, falling in line because I had the same situation, but I didn't join up, but I didn't turn my back either. So it's
right.
almost like, you kind of just keep things kosher, but they're persistent, man. Like they want warriors, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when they see that in you, it's kind of hard to, completely turn your back on it. And but at the same time, you got to walk that line. When you ran the dude off the yard and fought one of your own, what was their reaction to that, man?
It's kind of wild. I was thrown onto a new yard. They told us we were coming out of this this drug camp that all the potheads had to go through. And in order to go through it, you have to go to this new yard that they're opening up. It's supposed to be this new minimum yard. And back then it was Buckeye. I was put on Steiner. They called him Stickum Steiner. It's like one of the first yards that one of the SEALs got stabbed on as soon as they opened this yard. But they don't tell us anything about how this yard ran. It's like it's a high medium. You're under the gun. You're braced up. You don't walk out of line. I mean, it's not a minimum. There's no grass and palm trees or none of that garbage. But that's what they fed us as we were coming out of this camp. So we get off the bus. There's 24 of us. We hit the yard. Our job there, they wanted us to build the prison. That's why they put us there. Well, all of us are a bunch of assholes. We're not going to build the prison. So it was real easy to just turn the place into a lockdown because there's 24 of us. There's nobody else on the fucking yard. Well, they started funneling new people in, slowly opening up the yard. It was brand new. It holds 5,000 people now. That's what they were trying to do, is expand their business. I come to the yard. I'm just a youngster. I'm not there to gain nothing, but hey, if it gets down, we get down. I'm playing a pinochle game after hours. There's four of us sitting around the table, no big deal. This youngster's sitting next to me, and he's just super loud. The head of the yard sleeps on my run. So, he pops up and looks at me. I'm going to have to handle this dude. I keep telling him, hey, chill out, calm down, man. It's after hours. It's quiet time. You know what I mean? We shouldn't even be out here being loud. Fuck you, bitch. And the first thing I hear is the B word. So I stand up, I rock
Hey.
him out. These two are gone. The chair breaks. I got him on the ground, and it is what it is. Well, no one finds out. The dude checks in. He tells them he fell in the shower. It is what it is. They do knuckle checks. No one gets busted. We all walk. Well, some dude, cowboy, some other guy on the other side of the yard says he's calling the shots, and my dude on the run doesn't know what he's doing and tries to put me on restriction. Tries to say I embarrassed us. I'm not allowed to play cards. Blah 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 blah. So I went to my dude, who I've known running the yard since I got. He came with me on the bus. 25-inch cannons. Like, hey Billy, what's the deal? This dude's sweating me, telling me I can't play. He said, what? I said, get your youngsters, go handle it, do what you got to do. And I mean, he ain't said nothing. We ran in, took him off the yard. And if at first it feels weird. This isn't stuff that you do with your own people, but that guy's sitting there trying to treat me like a child. Like I'm not going to be able to play a card game now. And honestly, I've never even met this guy. I've never sat at the head table with this dude. I don't know this guy from Adam. I've been on the yard with this guy for a year. So, it's those simple little bureaucrat politics that you fall into over nothing. Next thing I know, I'm running down a run with a handful of sand, hitting this dude in the face and jumping him with two of my buddies. And we end
Yeah.
up in the hole. The cool part was, we came out of the hole and we were respected at that point. You know what? Nobody said shit to me again. Nobody ever said, hey, that's my pinochle partner. That's all I ever heard. Don't play pinochle with that guy. But it was just something stupid, something really dumb that honestly I've never even played pinochle on the street, so it would definitely never happen out here. But in there, the politics take over.
So when you were in there, man, what would you say was the dominant gang that was running the yard out there?
I gotta say, the first time I was in, it was the typicals. It was the ABers had their little clique, but then the Peckerwoods ran a lot of stuff. The Chicanos, the Pisces. But when I went in this time, because the way Arizona law is out here, the way Arizona uses prisons, private prisons especially as business, they don't use the small time drug dealers to fill the bed spaces anymore. It's now full of illegals. When I went in 2015, it was 60% Paisa. Like I've never seen anything like it. But Arizona's got a law that states if the prisons aren't 95% full, they sue the state, and then the taxpayers cover those dollars. That's why you see these minimum mandatory sentences being penciled into all these bullshit laws all the time. It's happening all over, everywhere. Arizona is just really big at it. We were huge at it. And as of 2013, our prisons were allowed to restructure as real estate investment trusts, which means technically they're not even private really anymore. They're publicly traded. So if you could buy stock in these things, isn't that a crime against humanity for writing a law to put someone in a cage to fulfill that? I
Fuck
mean,
yeah, it is.
That's a federal crime, and so the heads need to roll, in my opinion.
So, all right. So you get out, you did 3 years when you were younger, you get out. What happened in that time that sent you back to the prison in 2015?
I got out, lost my wife, lost my kid, the whole country song crap. I mean, it was just a mess. So I bared down, I crawled up underneath an executive chef's wing. I studied under him very hard. I went to culinary school. I worked really hard to get what was mine. And by 24, I opened up my own restaurant in Prescott Valley. I just started rocking. The mistake I made was I joined a club. I joined a motorcycle club. My dad was a patch member 35 years. I've always felt like it was in my blood. It was my legacy. It was something that I was supposed to follow. And I learned a hard lesson. Brotherhood's only what you make of it with your brother. It's not in a contract that you sign. And I felt like at the point of my life, I needed that contract. I needed that accountability. I needed it to where if this dude fucks me over, I can sock him in the mouth. And I got it right here. It says so. So now we're both on the same page. And I really felt like that accountability was what I was used to from childhood lockup, from prison twice. I felt like it was kind of giving me that accountability. And really, it's a false blanket of security because when shit hit the fan, I joined this motorcycle club. I started a medical edible company. We went medically legal here in 2010. What a great chance for me to showcase not only my cooking skills, but my ability to infuse food. So we launched an edible line in 2010, 2 years strong, launched through compassion clubs, collectives, just doing everything. But my motorcycle club was growing at the same time. So I had two chapters. I had a north and a south chapter in Arizona. We had two clubhouses, which means we're kind of getting big. People are seeing who we are. And the cops didn't like that at all. They didn't want, someone who's not paying any taxes on what he's doing because there's no legal businesses set up yet. So they raided me. They raided me. I had a business partner that I partnered with. Um, I met him at a gig. He saw our branding and was like, "Oh man, that's $1 million branding. All you need is a kitchen and a place." So I linked up with him. He gets us a kitchen. We start rocking. I'm 6 months in and I don't get paid $1. I start seeing my inventory just flowing out the back door, and I got no money coming in. And he actually signed up to be a hang around with the club, but thought better of it when he realized I'm the president and I don't fuck around. Like if you're gonna dick me around on business, it's gonna go worse for you than if you dick me around in the club, because you got to deal with me one on one. And the club, everybody's got to vote on it. Everybody's got to decide your fate for you. But personally, I get to decide that. So I think he thought better of it when he realized, like, wait a minute, this dude's gonna fuck me off if I keep going down this road.
So he was robbing you the whole time?
He was actually telling us that he was consigning all of the product to new dispensaries as they were opening, and we were on net terms. So in 90 days we would get paid. Well, here comes 90 days and I'm broke. I've spent all my money paying my staff, paying my rent. I've spent all my flour and product making all these products. I got nothing left. I need dough. I literally got to fisticuff to where I pulled up on him and said, "Hey, homeboy, if you don't come up with my money, I'm taking my company and we're rolling back up the hill and you're out. I'm done with this." And 3 days later, we got raided. 3 days later, he took $1,000 worth of my chocolate out of my walk-in because of an email that we received as a company. This email came in and it sounded like a cop. I mean, with my experiences and what we've been through, it was a cop. I sat down with the whole team. I showed it to them and said, "Look, guys, this is why we're legal. This is why we follow licensing. This is why we check AZDHS numbers. This is why we follow the rules." Well, the guy likes to be smarter than everybody and took the email after the meeting, responded to it, took product, set up a deal with the email, which happened to be detectives, and goes up and makes a transaction. So when he gets busted, instead of him doing his time, guess who he rats on and says told him to do it?
You.
So 3 days later, me and my wife driving my three kids to school. I come down this hill at the bottom of my hill and we stop at a stop sign. And I literally remember saying, I looked to my right and there were about 12 marked and unmarked cars all staged in this parking lot. And I looked over and it's about 4 blocks from my house, so I'm not adding anything together quite yet. I look over and I looked at my wife and I go, somebody's going to have a really shitty day. And we pulled off. And as I pulled off, one by one, those cars followed us. And I looked right back at her and I said, I think those shitty people are us. And I grabbed both our cell phones. I threw our cell phones into my wife's cup of coffee, trying to just, I don't want to have anything used against me that isn't even evidence. And I'm trying to explain, trying to figure out how I'm going to explain to my kids what's about to go down. My youngest is 6, my oldest is 11. So, and we have no guns, we have no weed. I don't even have my colors on me. Like, we're just literally taking my kids to school. So they followed us about, I don't know, about 8 miles from Prescott Valley to Prescott. That's where my kid's school was, and never pulled us over. So at this point, I'm tripping. I'm like, man, why don't I just run? If I didn't have my kids and old lady with me, I'm out. You know, like, I am not doing this. Why are they not pulling me over? So my thought process was, we're going to get into court one way or another. So I'm going to drag these dudes through college campus where I went to play college baseball. It's on the way to my school, and it's Indian land. So, something about this has to be illegal with them dragging us through this and not pulling us over. That's my thought process. We get through the college and we get right in front of my kid's school, and bam, the tank hits my truck, the ghillie suits, AR-15s. I mean, they acted like we were El Chapo or something, man. It was pretty wild. And then when they pulled my back doors open, I had an expedition. They pulled my wife out of the window, threw it by her hair. And then all of a sudden I seen that the AR-15s come in the window and the barrel hit my 6-year-old. And he said, give me the fucking cell phone. And I lost it. That's where the ag assault on a cop and all this crazy charges came. I didn't ag assault nobody. I watched him stick a barrel in a 6-year-old's face over pot, and I just can't hang no more, especially when I know that every one of the cops that are standing there are all in a motorcycle club. So while they're pinning me as a gang member and treat my family, they're playing both sides of the fence, serving 2 masters, doing the same shit. So when we get raided and all this happens, that's my defense. Once I get into to county, I have a private investigator who used to come in and eat at my restaurant. I thought he was a military guy, but I didn't know he was an ex-cop. He came in and I'm in Orange waiting to see the judge, and I feel a tap on the shoulder and I look up and I recognize him from my store. And I'm like, I'm embarrassed. Like, oh man, what is this guy doing here? I'm like, wait a minute, what are you doing here? And he hands me a business card that says private investigator. He goes, I was a cop here 25 years and they took my pension over an injury. I don't like them. I got some dirt for you. And as soon as I got out, he handed me so much evidence about these guys lying to the grand jury, planting evidence. All of them were on the Brady list. They're all part of a motorcycle club. So their raid on us was political. They stumbled on the weed stuff because of my snitch ass co-defendant, but they were already investigating us because of the club stuff. So we get into court and I just showed the evidence. All I did was go to the state and say, hey, look, you want to go to trial? Let's go. I got your chief of both your precincts. I got your head of your pant division all in a motorcycle club on camera beating up one of my prospects at a bar. 6 months after my raid, we're fighting this case. I get a call that there's video footage of the same guys who raided me in colors beating up some dude at the bar. Well, I go to the bar, my buddy owns it. It's my prospect. One of my prospects recognized the chief of the police department and called him out. Walks up and says, what do you think this is? Sons of Anarchy, motherfucker?
That's what I was just going to say, bro. I feel like this is like the steroided version of Sons of Anarchy, your life, bro.
That's what's funny. It was even before that show even came out. That's what cracks me up. When that show come out, we started laughing. Like, did they follow us around or something?
That's crazy, bro. So
Yep.
when you were, what did they do? Did they bring you into trial or did they settle? Like, what all happened?
No, they came back at me with a 2-year plea bargain. So they wanted to have me sign a 2-year plea bargain for some gun that they found in a cabin 800 yards away, registered to my wife's dead father, and tried to charge me with possession of a weapon as a felon. And honestly, I balled up the plea bargain and threw it at the state and told them that isn't going to work. That means I'm admitting guilt. The only reason I'm standing here is because some snitch couldn't do his time. You're going to have to come better than that. My lawyer, who's this little Columbo style 85-year-old barred in 4 states badass, he literally looks at me, tells the judge, time out, judge, shoves me out into the hallway. I'm up against the door by this little 4-foot dude pinning me against the door, going, do you know what it means to concede? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, the state's giving up. Take your 2-year plea bargain, go take a nap, write a book, go home to your family. If we go to trial, which we can, I'll defend you until the wheels fall off. But look at you. You're 6'1", 260, covered in tattoos. You're not obviously, not a banker. And now you've been busted a second time with what they call drugs and guns. And they're going to nail you. You're going to get 30 years. You're going to call my office every week crying about your wife. So take your 2-year plea bargain and go home. And at that moment, I had to decide. I'm going to go to prison today and squash this, or I'm going to go fight them in trial. And honestly, in Yavapai County, I was real lucky to get a 2-year plea bargain.
That's what a lot of people don't understand, because to an average person that's never been arrested, never been put in that type of situation, when they hear you say, I didn't do this, but I took 2 years, they say, well, I would never plea out to something I didn't do. But when your ass gets put in that situation and it's brought in front of you, like your attorney brought it in front of you, it kind of makes sense. Does it make sense to do it when you didn't do it? Fuck no, it don't. But at the same side, they can give you 30 years, man. And then what? And then you're calling his office. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, then someone's holding my picture up at Hemp Fest going, free Chris Martin again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And honestly, I sat there like, what I should do is go fight. But I also know that the county I'm in is so crooked that it's going to take a home run to do anything huge. The best I'm going to be able to do is write this book and put this doco out there to where people can find it. People can go research it without pointing fingers and looking all snitchy like. We made it more of a story about people that made it through a rough situation. It wasn't about, oh, poor me. It wasn't about screw the cops are bad, even though there's so much dirt in there that, we had to cut some of it out. I mean, it was a 90-minute movie already, but I wanted the movie to be there just in case. What happens if that bad stuff does happen? My house accidentally burns down, brake lines get cut. I mean, we had some shady crap go down in my case where I've got detectives emailing my GoFundMe, threatening me, all the stuff that we presented to the courts and sent it into the judge. I think that's what prompted the 2-year plea bargain. They just wanted it gone, like get out of here. They even granted my parole. They let me move my parole out of county too.
So, all right. So you go do the 2 years. You get out. I heard you say a documentary. I know you got some stuff going on your own.
Yeah.
How did it all start for you when you got out? You got right back into the edibles and the marijuana, or?
Well, it's kind of crazy, man. When I got busted for Zonka, I'm a chef. I've ran restaurants my whole life. My wife's been in the medical field for a really long time. So we kind of went back to what we knew. I took everything that I used to do from cannabis and I turned it into CBD products. And I did that while I fought my case. I fought my case for 3.5 years. So like to your point, when you're talking to those people who say, I would never do the time, blah, blah, blah. Just imagine 3.5 years of your life, every 30 days going to court. You got a $500,000 bond hanging over your head. One slip up, you're gone for life. Every 30 days, you don't know what's going to happen. You drive an hour and a half to go to court just to get told it's being postponed for another 30 days. You go back to your house and spend your time with your family and hope that it doesn't happen. For 3.5 years, that drags out. So when they came at me with a 2-year plea bargain, I did a backflip. I'm like, I can sleep that long. Like, honestly, I'll make some tamales out of Doritos and kick back. Like, that's nothing. So when I went to prison this time, it was so much different than the first time. We talked about being a youngster and just how politics are different. Well, now, lucky me, 25 years later, I'm an OG now. I got an old number. I got gray hair. I'm a big old tattooed guy. I walk in, it's like, hey, old man, have a seat. We got you, whatever you need. It was totally different this time. But I also went in with a different purpose. Even when I didn't want to get political, and sometimes I had to, like I got asked to run a building. We all know what that means in the prison world when you are asked to run a building. I was anti running anything. I got like 11 months left. I'm going home. I don't care. Y'all can beat each other up over pinochle all day long. I don't even la la la. I'm watching football. And literally, I was watching our people get our youngsters high and then beat them up because they couldn't pay the debt. I was watching rules like I can't share a burrito with the Mexican dude next to me because he's hungry and has indigent status. But if I got heroin and a needle, we could share that all day long. And I'm sorry, but when I was in the first time, we didn't have stupid rules like that. But I came in this time and we got stupid rules like that. And it's hard to sit there even for only 11 months and not say something, you know? So I think I'm doing something. I go to the head of the yard and say, hey, man, you got me over here trying to transition and take this building, but your boy's got he's got some demons. Like we don't do stuff like that. So I told him, I said, look, either you handle it or I'm going to handle it. We get to lunch count, SSU rolls him up. I'm kicking back going, where'd he go? What? So I go back to the head of the yard when the yard opened. Hey, man, where'd your boy go? He goes, oh, I couldn't let you put your hands on him.
So he checked in?
He checked him in for him.
That's crazy, man.
I said, you know what, bro? The building's all yours. I'm done. I got nothing to do with you or how y'all do this shit out here. I'm done.
That's some police ass shit right there.
Oh, tell him. Well, and that's what they're doing out here. They're granting special amenities if they're doing all this crazy stuff out here. And I've never seen nothing like it. I gave up. I threw it in. I'm done. I'm the old guy. I'm gonna sit here and eat top ramen and get fat. And honestly, all I did from that point on was try to make political changes within the prison. So I really turned my attention towards, like, I wrote a curriculum for prison. I felt like there was a recidivism taking place purposely. Like, you know, you see the dope, you see there's no programming. So I wrote a program. I submitted it to the ADW of Winslow, one of the yards I was on. And as soon as I submitted it, they moved me. They shipped me to a 3-yard. They said, he's out. We don't want this. So it shows they don't give two shits about trying to make this a better place and people not coming back. If we don't come back, they don't have a job. They don't have beds full, you know? So my job at that point was really trying to teach grown men that we should all be working together. So, you know, my final straw in prison, I had an old 6 number come up to me. This guy's probably 70. He sits on my bed. He's like, or he goes, hey, can I sit down? I go, yeah, go sit down. He goes, I wanted to see your feeling on a topic. And I said, okay, what's your question, Pops? And he goes, did you see that black guy sitting on that white guy's bed over there? And I looked at him and I go, no, man, I didn't. I'm like 6 days to the gate, brother. I'm trying to get out of here. And he goes, well, I just wanted to see if you would have a problem with it. I said, did you say anything, old timer? And he goes, nope. I said, then get the fuck off my bed. And he looked at me. He's like, what? I said, you heard me. I said, you're on a minimum yard. You're like 4 months to the gate. That dude over there might be your nephew one day. You might hire him. He might hire you. You have no idea. As soon as you get out of that crazy way of thinking, you might not come back to this place with that old ass number. And man, he walked off cussing me sideways. Like, I don't think he thought he was going to get that response from me. But I was at that point to where, you know.
Yeah, you were done.
It's a cycle. And if we stay in that cycle, they win. I'm done with that cycle. I'm almost 50.
All right, man. So what's this documentary that you were speaking on? I want you to be able to tell the people watching how they can find it and what it's about.
Well, you asked me what we did to, you know, in prison and how we kept our head right. Well, I wrote a book. And it was really just a memoir to my kids because I thought I was getting life. And you know what it's like when you go to prison, even with 2 years, that could turn into a lot longer real quick. And I almost kind of guaranteed it was gonna. I felt like I know me. As soon as I get in this place, I know how we have to act and I hate it, but this is the politics and this is what's going to go down. And something clicked, something changed. I got locked into a cell when we were on lockdown and it was with a young MS-13 member. which was really awkward because Arizona knows better than that crap. Usually they do that on purpose. They want something to happen when they try to take someone from a motorcycle club and put him in with a Hispanic gang member or a white pride guy with a black guy. Like they're trying to see what's if you're gonna fight it or whatever the situation is. Well, I get into this cell and I look over and I just kind of laugh because I'm old to this. I know what they're doing. And the dude squares up like he's ready to go at it. I'm like, you really want it, man? Like I outweigh you by 160 pounds. If this goes down, there's no one that's gonna come save you. Like I'm just telling you, we don't have to do this. We can. I'm don't want to be here any more than you. But if you get hurt in here, like there's no one that's gonna come help you. I'm just letting you know that. And that's how it started. Next thing I know, we started telling each other our backgrounds, and he said, dude, your story's nuts. Why don't you write that thing down? So honestly, this little 20-something MS-13 member was the inspiration to me writing this book. The book got sent out, it got published. And when I came home, the guy who published it, the company behind me, GCM Media, they said, let's turn it into a documentary. This thing has got wheels. Let's get, how many other people have been through the same thing or something close that they could relate, and maybe we could help them. So Haters Make Me Famous was born in 2019. We dropped it. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on Tubi, Walmart, Target. They got it in DVD form if anybody even watches that crap anymore. But yeah, it was really just a way for us to tell this story, get it out there. One, if something bad happened, nobody'd even know who we were. Poof, gone. I wanted some kind of legacy there for my grandkids, and I wanted them to know, like your grandparents are badass. We came out here and kicked ass. We made it. We fought. We got all our brands back. Zonka's back on the shelves as of 2 years here in the dispensaries, and signing national deals now, franchising them out in other states. And we started a nonprofit. Probably my most proud thing I've done since we got out of prison was my nonprofit, Zonka Miles. I felt like twofold. There's so many talented individuals in prison that are forgotten, and there's so many people that after a year of prison, no mails come in, they got nothing left. But they have amazing talents. They have some amazing things that once they actually take the time to sit down and focus on, they're really good at. So I sell their artwork, I sell their hobby craft, I put the money on their books, and then I organize huge letter writing campaigns where we just try to make sure they know they're not forgotten. Because my nickname was Hollywood in prison. I got so much mail from people that we knew outside, and I had neighbors that weren't so lucky. And that's a shitty feeling watching a dude that's been in there 25 years not get a letter. And so I started having my friends right then, you know what I mean? And it took off from there, and now it's ran by inmates, ex-inmates. When they come home, they take over the nonprofit. It's about them. It's really about their families and their art skills and what they're good at.
Yeah, man. Well, damn, it sounds like you're a busy dude, and I appreciate you making time to come on the channel, man. You got a really good story, and honestly, like that's what it's about. Being in shitty situations, going through shitty things in life, but then, being able to turn that around into something positive. And honestly, it sounds like you did that tenfold. You know what I mean? So big salute to you, man, for doing that.
Thank you.
And
thanks for having me.
Yeah. Do you have any social media you want to give a shout out to, or the name of the documentary and how they find that?
Yeah, absolutely. We're all over Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Hempful Farms, Haters Make Me Famous, Convicted Creations, which is also, just so you know, I do a cooking show. I do a prison food cooking show, and it has a cookbook where inmates come home, they're released. We put them on the show and let them talk about their story, talk about their experience, kind of like you're doing with your show. And we cook prison food. We make ice cream in the dryer. We show them the hard ways of doing stuff, and we put a little spin to it with the story. And we just try to show people you can laugh it off, and you're human, and we're not in trouble anymore. We're over it. Let's go forward.
I'll put those links in the description, so it'll be easier for the people watching to find you. But again, man, I want to thank you for coming on the show. And if you guys are new and you're tuning in for the first time, man, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you've enjoyed this episode, go ahead and smash that like button. And with that, it's DOC TV, and we're out.